Alright, well, following that rather exciting Nintendo Direct, Nintendo has also done the impossible and dragged me back out of the depths of wherever I've been for the last, almost a year, to make another video about, now, Tears of the Kingdom. I guess last time I talked about it, it was Breath of the Wild 2 still, but here I am. I'm not dead. But there's a ton to talk about based on that last trailer, and I'm just gonna go through it kind of point by point. And I'm going to start with the new monsters, because I am, as you may know, a bit of a fanatic about Legend of Zelda's monsters. There are a ton of new monsters, not like out of control tons, but there are still quite a few ones that we were shown in this trailer that we need to talk about. So the first one is probably one of the most highly requested for this game that showed up in the trailer, at least almost definitely showed up in the trailer. And that is the Redead. If you're familiar with these enemies, you're probably traumatized by them and can't stand the sound they make in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But they, basically they're common undead enemies in The Legend of Zelda, release a paralyzing scream, all that stuff. And we see one pop up here next to these other enemies during some kind of Blood Moon event. So we got Redeads, very excited about that. Cannot wait to see where they show up throughout the game. Next is another monster who I've kind of been waiting to show up for a long time, actually. Like, he hasn't shown up in a game in ages. Gleeok. Well, okay. I don't actually know that it's Gleeok, but it seems very likely to be Gleeok based on its appearance. One, it is a large dragon figure with multiple heads. Now, technically, we've never seen Gleeok in this, like, state where all of his heads are on fire and they're not detached from his body, but we have seen cases where Gleeok has 3 or 4 heads, and then after being detached from his body, they set on fire. So it does not seem like an unnatural change to make to the creature where he just has flaming heads. So I am super excited to see what that looks like in game. Maybe he's a new mini-boss, maybe he's just an enemy. Given that he's positioned so epically on the bridge here, though, I'm gonna guess he's a new mini-boss. Okay, so these enemies, I don't know for sure if this is a new enemy or an old enemy. I would compare them to Bokoblins or Gorayas, but they're just so different looking, like bigger, fatter Bokoblins, that I cannot say for sure. Nonetheless, they are very interesting. I hope that they aren't just bigger, fatter Bokoblins and that they have some interesting stuff going on with them. But nonetheless, they weren't in Breath of the Wild, so they're new enemies for this game. Okay, so this one's a little weird. It kind of looks like a reptilian bat thing. The only enemy I could find previously, like in a previous game, to compare to is the Dacto, which is basically a pterodactyl enemy, which isn't terribly far from what these guys are. I mean, they do look very pterodactyl-ish, but they're also just so different from anything we've seen in Breath of the Wild that there's not a lot to directly compare them to in terms of like what they might be related to. So we may just have to wait and see what they're actually called. But yeah, Dacto or whatever they are, they're pretty cool. They seem to be carrying around Bokoblins and being like a unit transport sort of thing for the Bokoblins, which is pretty nice. And then last but absolutely not least for the new monsters, at least the ones that I noticed, we have this giant spirit-powered titan thing made out of blocks. I cannot wait to play this game just for this thing alone. I don't know what its deal is, but I'm guessing it's either like a training opponent or like a boss in the sky area, one or the other. That makes for an interesting battle for sure. I'm kind of guessing you can climb on it given the flat surfaces being all over it, but of course, that'll have to wait for the game to actually be out to be sure about that. Okay, so that's all the new enemies. Next, we need to talk about Ganondorf. I'm pretty sure everyone else is in agreement on this, but I'm pretty sure we heard Ganondorf talking, and I like it. I was not sure I would like Ganondorf voice acting, and I've quickly changed my mind. I think it's perfectly good. So, cannot wait to hear and see more of Ganondorf. But in the meantime, we know that he's ridiculously powerful because, you know, he's been down there impaled by the spirit hand or whatever for on the order of 10,000 years, and he just kind of gets up, starts stretching, Malice shoots everywhere. We've seen some of this stuff before. The entire room appears to rise with him. So very curious where that's going to go. Okay, so next after enemies and Ganondorf, we have Zelda. So I don't know if a lot of people really caught on to what Zelda's appearances in the trailer may actually imply, but the fact that she is, one, not dead is pretty good, but also, she seems to have contact with Link maybe throughout the game, unless this is a shot like really early or really late in the game. She could end up being more plot relevant, you know, than just being the damsel in distress, which is something that wasn't really sure before now, with the implication that she was going to fall down and kind of disappear for a while. Maybe she still does disappear for a while, we don't know. But I've been hoping, I said it like a while ago, that she'll have kind of like a side story going on at the same time as Link's story. Could definitely happen in a way similar to like Skyward Sword's thing, where she's going off and getting all her memories back as Hylia. Obviously, she's not actually Hylia incarnate in this game. She's just a human Hylian descendant of Hylia. It's complicated. If you know, you know. But, yeah. So, Zelda could be more plot relevant in the game than last time around. She has a new kind of new dress thing going on that reminds me of, again, the appearance she had in that mural from the other trailer. I don't know that we have like 100% confirmed that she's the Princess Seep looking person in that mural, but by all accounts that definitely seems like that's the implication. So yeah, I guess she got a new outfit for this game. And of course, like, all of this doesn't mean she couldn't just get kidnapped right after whatever this scene is, and it turns out Zelda's not in the story at all. But I think this is kind of implying that she'll be a little more actively involved. We'll see, though. So this game, or at least this trailer, seems to be suggesting that there's going to be a lot of extra technology stuff going on. We've got some Sheikah technology stuff going on. We got, like, the Guardian arms that reach around Link. Almost definitely related to the Sheikah scientists. As you can see, like, in the background, it appears to be, like, a Sheikah building. Maybe in Kakariko Village, depending on where it is. Obviously, it's hard to tell from the inside, but it definitely seems to be the actual Sheikah doing stuff with it this time instead of Ganon, so that's good. And then we've got this car thing. This is the one that I don't know how to feel about. The flying stuff felt okay, but seeing Link in a weird car thing, it just doesn't sit right with me. But I feel a little better after noticing in a later shot, you see Link, and he uses his, like, spirit or actually it's an earlier shot, sorry. He uses his spirit magnesis thing on this puddle, grabs an object out, and it appears to be a wheel that is on this car thing. I don't know what to call it. I'm just going to call it a car. It's on the car. It's a wheel on the car. So you might actually have to build the vehicle which you drive around, in which case I kind of like that idea. It means you don't just, you know, walk up, you get a car, you're driving around Hyrule now. You kind of like with the Master Cycle have to do some stuff in order to earn it. So that's a good idea in my opinion. The flying contraption, it looks like a big drone. That's all I could think of when seeing it. I don't know if that's like entirely separate from the other flying machine we saw Link on, like the big glider bird thing. I'm guessing so. I don't know why we're going to need this many different ways to get around the air, but if anything, it just establishes that we're going to be doing a lot of air travel. So, yeah, air travel is going to be important. I thought that maybe both this car and the flying drone thing, since they have a lot of cargo space, so to speak, you might have to carry around items with you while piloting them, which would be an interesting way to do some side quests, like you've got to transport goods from location A to B, and you couldn't do it on foot, or at least wouldn't be able to do so easily, so that could be interesting. I hope they go around that route and do something like that, but if not, it's not the end of the world, just some interesting extra ways to travel. And then I guess this kind of falls under technology. Those arrows, or at least the heat-seeking arrow thing, I am on the fence about that. It's really cool looking, but the way it works, I worry it could make the game kind of easy if you just get these arrows that can insta-target enemies. They could be good for puzzles though, and I'm always about more mechanics to make puzzles because I like puzzles, so yeah, kind of neat. And the last category we've got is probably the changes they've made to the world. First off, not going to go too deep into this, but we've got these towers. They probably are just replacements for the Sheikah towers. We've got what may be a new area of Hyrule. It has some different looking trees, and as we've seen in Breath of the Wild, different looking trees kind of mark different areas of the map. So this could either be deeper underground, it could be a further out area that we've never seen. We've got some really big glowy tree thing going on in the back. I suppose that's probably more significant than the smaller trees. And then we've got this little patch of what appear to be little blue fireballs. My hope is that they mark something like a group of Poes or some other enemy that may pop up once you walk over them, but they could also represent some other kind of spirit creature, or maybe not even spirits entirely, they're just weird blue flames. We've also got some new interactable objects. I would assume they're interactable, like this rock with red cracks on it. I don't know why it has red cracks on it, but I am going to blow it up as soon as I possibly can. And then we've got this little tent in this closing scene of the trailer. It appears to have like man-made lanterns, cloth, etc. So it's likely got some Hylians or Gerudo or Gorons or something inside, but we don't really get to see that. And then in the last shot, we've got this spirit energy surrounded rock falling from the sky. I don't know why it's falling from the sky, but I want to find out now. And also, there just seem to be a lot more monster camps in general. Like, probably going to be a lot more monsters in the game. So yeah, that's the breakdown I've got of what we saw in the trailer. I'm sure you've probably watched like 7 other videos like this already, but if you stuck around this long, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time you're in the Legend Zone.